Hello all, welcome to Tech Capture. So in our previous video, we discussed about all data processing services in Google Cloud, where we discussed about Google Cloud Data Flow, Data Fusion, Dataproc, and a Cloud Composer. We also discussed the features of each of the service and when we should use each of the service in a Google Cloud. Now we are just going to discuss in detail about a Google Cloud Data Flow. So first we'll have a small introduction about Google Cloud Data Flow, and then we'll directly jump into the demo and we'll create our first data flow job in this video. Okay, so first let's try to understand what is a Google Cloud Data Flow and why data flow is a most famous data processing service in a Google Cloud. Okay, so first try to understand what is a data flow. So Dataflow is unified stream and batch data processing service based on the Apache build. So first try to understand what is a stream and batch data processing. So I'll give you a simple example. So you have one application which process a banking transaction. Now let's talk about the batch data processing. So what will happen at the end of the day, you will get a file of daily transactions. So suppose from morning 9 a.m. 5 p.m. all the transactions are there. You will get the file at the 6 p.m. and daily at the 6 p.m. you will process that file and load into the data warehouse, and the file will be available in data warehouse after 8 p.m. So that is happening on daily basis. So that is your batch processing, because you are loading the data in the batch, and that is your daily batch. Now what will happen in case of streaming? So in streaming, as soon as your transaction is done, it will be pushed into kind of the PubSub or Kafka, and it will immediately process using a real-time data processing, that is streaming data processing. So suppose any transaction that done at 9:30, so it will be processed immediately at 9:30 and data will be available in your data warehouse immediately within a few seconds. So that's kind of a real-time data processing, means your data is available in data warehouse or for analytics within a short period of time, and that is a streaming. So your job will be continuously running and it will keep accepting the data, and as soon as it receives the data, it will process that data and load into the data warehouse. So that's the difference between streaming and batch processing. And Dataflow is famous because it is having capability to work on both streaming as well as batch data processing. So because of this capability, it works mostly on the real-time data processing, and it makes ideal for the application where requires a low latency insight. It means the data should be available for analytics within a short period of time. So if you are waiting for batch processing, then you have to wait for whole day to get your data in the data warehouse or for analysis. But if you are using the streaming, your data will be immediately available for analysis in your data warehouse, because that kind of a real-time data processing capability is having in a streaming job. Now let's talk about a key use cases where we should use the data flow. So it is mainly used for real-time stream processing, mainly for IoT devices or where you are just working on the logs. Batch processing also it will work for large scale data transformation. So we'll see in our demo how we can create a data pipeline for data transformation, so building real-time dashboards and analytics. So for all this purpose, this data flow will be used. Now we'll see how to create a data flow job. So now we are going to create our data flow job, but how we can create the data flow job? So for create the data flow job, there are two options. First, data flow jobs can be created using a data flow template, and second can be created using a data flow job builder. So this option was not there initially. This is recently introduced by Google, where now you can create the data flow job without code using just data flow UI. Okay, so data flow template, you can create a reusable template or reusable pipeline using the data flow template, and there are two options here. Either you can create your own custom template or you can use a Google provided template. So Google also provide a lot of pre-built templates for common scenario. So we'll create our first data flow job using a Google provided template only, and we can create using job builder as well, where we can use a UI for building and running data flow pipelines in a Google Cloud Console. So here we don't need to write any kind of code. Okay, now we'll go to Google Cloud Console and we'll create our first data flow job. So let me go to a Google Cloud Console now. Now I am in my Google Cloud Console. So this is my new project and I haven't used data flow in this project. So let me go to data flow now. From here, okay, I'll go to data flow and I'll start creating my first job. So now, as I said, we have a two option: either we can create job from template or we can create from a job builder. So this job builder was not there earlier, so this is newly introduced by Google Cloud. You can see the older screenshot where this option was not available. Now this option is available and this is having a very good feature. So we'll discuss about job builder as well in our next video. So for now, we'll just create a job from the template. Now here we are working on the use case where we'll load a data from our text file or CSV file, which is a comma delimited, and we'll load almost a 1000 record from GCS Google Cloud Storage bucket to the query. So I am having VS Code here and I am having employee data. So this is having a hundred, not 100, it is having 1000 records, and these 1000 records I am going to load from a Google Cloud Storage bucket to a BigQuery. Okay, so let's see what template we can use. So here I will use a template that is a text file on storage bucket to a BigQuery. So as I said, I haven't used a data flow in this project. It will ask me to enable APIs, and initially I might face a permissions error as well here. So enabling API will take some time. Okay, so now API is enabled now, and we have two options: creating from template and job builder. So I am into a template now, so I'll just give the name as data flow demo, and I'll just give a 01. In case job failed, we'll create new with the 02. And template, so initially there are inbuilt Google build template, Google provided template. This is for streaming jobs, so there are multiple templates for streaming, and these are for batch processing. Here also we are having a multiple template. So I'm going to use a template that is text file on cloud storage to a BigQuery. Okay, now let's see what details it will ask here. Now it required a file input file, that is our source data. Okay, then it required a BigQuery schema. Okay, fine. Then query table, temporary location. Okay, so I'll just open a storage bucket first and we'll create one storage bucket for our demo. So here let's create a bucket. So there might be a couple of buckets here already, so I'll just create a new bucket. I'll give some unique name, data flow demo, or I'll just give the name data flow demo, and I will give 000. Let's see if it is unique. If it is not unique, it will say it already exists and the bucket creation will fail. Okay, so this is unique name and it's successfully created. Now let me just upload my file here. So I'll just go here, upload files, and I'll upload my employee data CSV file here, which having a 1000 record. Okay, and we'll just copy the path of this file because we need this GS path here in our first field. Okay, so I'll just give the input file path here. Okay, so we have to browse from here. Let's browse it from here. So demo 000, and it should becomes green now. Okay, now it is green, everything fine. Now the target, so here we should give a BigQuery schema, and schema should be in this format. Okay, so let me just copy this schema, and this should be in JSON format. So I'll just create new file bq.json here, and let's check the format, which format it need. Okay, so it is in a JSON format. Okay, so this need in this format, so we need a file in this format because we just copied this format from the example they have given. Now let's check what are the columns we are having here for employee data. So we are having these columns. So let's copy these columns. Okay, so I'll just copy one by one. Then first name, then last name, then department, position, and I'll just copy more. So up to position we have salary, after that joining date, okay, and country. Okay, so we have these many fields available here. Let's check the data types as well. So let's go back to CSV file. So here you can see your employee ID is integer. Again, your salary is integer, and this is joining date is a date. So let me change that. So ID is integer. Okay. Salary is also integer. So your joining date is a date. Okay. Let's check the format. Okay, we are good. So this is our bq.json file. Okay, joining date was date, sorry. So this is our bq.json file. Now let's upload this file as well in storage bucket. You have to upload in storage bucket. So don't worry, I'll provide all the files to you. So I am doing it from the scratch, so you will understand what we are doing and what each of this file. Now let's go and select this as well, bq.json. Okay, this is also green now. Now BigQuery output table. So now we already defined schema here. Okay, so where is our schema? Yeah, so we already defined schema here, so we don't need to create table with all this schema. So we'll just create an empty table. So I'll just open a query. Okay, and in BigQuery I'll create a data set, and in that data set we'll create our table. So let me go to a BigQuery. So here let me check. Yeah, so I am having three data set. Let me create one data set here, and I will just name it as a data flow. So we'll use it for all a data flow related job. So I'll just create a data set, and I'll just name it as a data flow. Okay, and within this data flow data set I will create one table. So that I'll create as an empty table without any schema, because the schema we already mentioned in a bq.json file. So dataset is created. Now we can see data flow dataset created, and I will create one empty table within this dataset. So I'll click on create table, and so it should be a empty table, and name I'll just give employee because we are creating it for employee data. So I'll just give the name as a employee here. Okay, and I'll just click on a create table. Now I have created a dataset and table, so that I will add in my job parameter. So here we need a query output table. So once this table is created, we can see that in the list here. So we'll just browse the list, so we can see the table once available here. Okay, so it is still creating, so just wait for some time. So it's created within a data flow dataset. So it's taking time to load here. Let's validate from here if you can see the table now. So once it is loaded, we can see the employee table is available to select now. So we can select this empty table. So this will be our output table and data will be loaded into this employee table. Okay, so let me go back here. Now temporary directory, we can select any bucket. So I'll choose our existing bucket only as a temporary location. And here also for required parameter, I'll just select this location, but we have to give /temp path. So I'll just give a /temp path here. Now one more thing, so in optional parameter I will choose a JSON file here, not JSON, the JavaScript UDF function. So this is required to map your input file field to a BigQuery table columns. Okay, so what is the format of this UDF function? So you can see this is the format of the UDF function. Already created a UDF function for our data, so let me just take it from the Notepad++, and I'll just explain you what this UDF function does in our data flow job. So I'll just give the name udf.js. Okay, so here what we are doing, we are just mapping the input field to the target table columns. So first thing, we are just ignoring the column names because our CSV file is having a first record as a column name. So we are mentioning here if our employee ID value is employee ID, then just ignore that. Okay, just filter that. And here we are just mapping employee ID object to the first value. We are creating the object here, and then we are mapping each of the fields, okay, to the actual value, and then we are returning the JSON format output. So basically CSV format data we are converting into a JSON string. So that's this JavaScript function is doing here. So it is just splitting the single value, comma separated values, and converted it into a JSON string. So let me just save this file and I'll just upload this as well in my storage bucket. So this is kind of transformation we are doing here, because for loading the data into BigQuery we need the data in a JSON format for this data flow job. So now I'll just, instead of creating a new UDF, I'll just use existing UDF, and now I'll just select my udf.js file. Okay, and I'll save. And the function name, UDF function name should be your UDF function name. So my function name is a transform. So I'll just use this function name, transform. Okay. Now I have filled all the required field as well as the our JavaScript UDF file here. Now let me run my job. So if it will fail for any of the reason, we'll just validate the logs and then we'll try to troubleshoot that. We might face errors related to the permissions because we are doing it for the first time in this project, but let's see. If it is having editor role, then it should not face any issue. So now one more thing I wanted to show you here. As soon as our data flow job starts, so it will create a worker node at the back end. So these worker nodes are nothing but the virtual machines. So now you can see currently it is in starting state. So current CPU, nothing is showing here. Current worker, nothing. So what I will do, I'll just open a VM page, so we'll understand as soon as it is creating the VM instance at the backend. So you will understand how data flow job works. So let's go to VM instance. Okay, let's refresh. So currently we do not have any VM instance here. Now here also current worker is 0. As soon as your worker is started here, it is nothing but your a new VM instance. So just keep I here. Okay, so current worker now it is 0, so it will create a worker node now. So that is your VM instance. Let me refresh here. Okay, so you can see it created a VM instance at the backend, and on this VM instance your data flow job will execute. So it created one worker here. So let's see here. So it will reflect here in few seconds. Your job is also running, and you can see the job status here. You can see the logs here. Okay, so all the logs you can see here. So I'll just hide the log for now. If we see any error, it will show red error here. So this is the graph view. I usually follow a graph view because it will good visualize all the steps. And you can see the current CPU is 1, memory 3.75, HDD 25 GB. So this is the specification of this VM is switch created at the background. So now you can see one worker node also created. Let's refresh here. Okay, so it created the worker node on the same VM instance, and now your job should be executing. So if you expand, you will see all the steps. Okay, so if I expand, you will see all the steps. We'll just minimize it and we'll just pause for few seconds because it will take some time to start your instance and then execute the job. Now you can see the operations happening here. All things you can see: output table, JSON path, all these details or metadata related to job you will see here. Now we got an error. Here you can see error. So let's go to the error and just try to see what is the error we are facing. Okay, so just see the errors here. I'll just hide this for now. No such function transform. Okay, let's see. So we are having a transform function here. Transform file is udf.js. Let's see in our job if we given any wrong information. So we have given udf.js and function name is transform, that is correct. Why this is giving an error? Okay, the function name is correct. Let me see if it uploaded successfully. Okay, it is showing empty file. I think I haven't saved this file. Let me just save this file. Okay, and let me try to upload again because it is showing empty file udf.js. It should be 1 KB. So here I'll just override so it will have a latest data. Okay, now I can see at least it is around 1 KB. So I uploaded the empty file, that's why it could not find the transform function. So I'll just clone this job. Okay, and name I'll give as a 02 because we cannot give the same name again, and rest of the things I'll just validate and keep the same. Okay, so rest everything is fine, and I'll just go and simply run a job. So it will create a new instance of the job. I'll go back and check 02 now. So hope you understood how to troubleshoot these errors now. Okay, so it will take again some time to get in the running state and to show the workers here. So I'll just fast forward this video till we get the graph and the workers available here. Okay, so we got the graph now, so in some time we'll see a workers as well. Now here we can see 2 CPU and 2 workers. It means it created one more VM. So let's see. Yeah, it created one more VM and it is using the 2 workers to execute the job. Okay, so let's see. Till now there is no error, so we'll wait for some more time and then we'll see if our job completes successfully or will face an error again. Okay, we can see few of the steps completed and the last steps is running now. In last steps also 17 out of 20 stages are successful. Let's wait. Okay, now we can see all stages are successful and our complete job is successful now. Okay, so here it is still showing running, but it will take few seconds to show the success status. So it is in running state now, but we can go and validate the data. So this is our employee table. We created the empty table, and now we can see if we have a data here. So we can see the schema. So the schema is based on the JSON file we created. Okay, and let's see if we have a data here. So I'll just try to query. So we had a 1000 record in this table CSV file. Okay, let me just remove this limit. Okay, so we are having 1000 record. Let's sort it based on the employee ID so we can validate the data in our CSV file. Okay, so in our CSV file we had a first record, a Robert Wilson. So we can see the Robert Wilson and all data is loaded, so we can see all 1000 columns here. Okay, so in this way we loaded our CSV file data. So this is CSV data 1000 records into the BigQuery. Okay, BigQuery table, and we use a bq.json file and also a JavaScript function here. So here took longer time because I just tried to explain each and everything to you from the basic, but usually it won't take much time. I just wanted to make sure you will understand all the steps, all the files. Okay, so one more thing here. So we converted the employee ID from string to integer here, and also for the salary. So sometimes you have to play with data types to make it flexible or make it compatible with your BigQuery schema. Okay, so hope you understood now how we can create a data pipeline using a data flow job. So let's see if it is successful now. Yeah, it is successful, and we have successfully created our first data pipeline using a data flow where we loaded the data from GCS bucket to BigQuery.